Hi. Rather than post one of my usual 1990s train videos I shot to my channel today, I was going to do a brief little video on the Atlas Universal Signal Control Board system. I'm a 100% rank amateur when it comes to doing work on layouts. The last one I had was when I was 13 years old in 1988. So this was all a pretty much new experience to me. And to those of you that are watching that have posted tutorial videos online, I thank all of you, because without them, I could not have got any of this done. They were a huge help, whether it was weathering or learning how to weather or track work, the signals, you name it. It was a huge help. So the Atlas Universal Signal Control Board system, Atlas makes control boards, all the attachment cables, and the signals for it right here. The Atlas signals are so-so. They're not bad. I have had problems with them, particularly with, you can see it, the cable that runs up to the LEDs. I've had problems with that and with the LEDs themselves. I have two signals. One of them I have to tap the head on to get the light to work every once in a while. The other one I got to fidget with the cable every once in a while to get it to work. The signal, I said, this is an N-scale layout. It is DC, not DCC. Not very good with computers, so I stuck with what I knew from back in 1988 and wired everything DC. So I have no block detectors. So that's the signal. And then coming underneath the layout, you can kind of see my attachment cords right there. So the signal has two ends. You have to buy two signal attachment cables for a double-headed signal like that to go to the control boards themselves. On the left is the signal attachment cable. That's what runs up to the end of the cord right there, attaches it to the control board. You need one control board per signal head. So this one obviously required two. On the ends, you see sticking out are signal interconnect cables. I connect these with either the signal that's previous or the signal that's next to the signal here. So if either I have one set up as a control point or I have block detectors on another one there, they will work as a real signal system do. Signals will drop as a detector input is shown on a control board. This is one of the signal control boards. This particular one I smoked. The Atlas signal system, I believe, is set up for common cathode. Aftermarket signals are set up as common anode generally. This pin marked JP2, you've got to remove the little black jumper. It's over the two pins and move it from the bottom two to the top two. There's only 3 pins, so one of them is always covered. On the left block, you can see COM power, positive, negative in, and then positive, negative out. You can daisy chain all the control boards together. All the other inputs there, red in, detector out, detector in, yellow in, flashing yellow, approach, and flashing green. By running a wire out of, say, like the D in, the detector input one, I've got mine run to a selector. I short out that detector in, and it drops your signal to red, showing a block occupancy. For those of you with DC instead of DCC, this is pretty much the setup I have for my signals. I've got them all labeled for, I've got 3 control points, and I've got them labeled for single track, A head, top signal, B head, bottom signal, siding, main, so I know which ones to drop to get signal aspects if, say, I switch the route from where he is on the main to the siding. I also have block detectors set up I bought from Iowa Scaled Engineering. These are optical right-angle block detectors. You can kind of see them in the distance there. I'm very pleased with them. They work out very well. I smoked about 90% of the ones I had because I failed to read the directions, and they operate off of DC, not AC voltage. I had them hooked up to the AC on the power pack. The Atlas signal system will run off DC or AC. Nothing ever happened with that. So I've been slowly replacing my block detectors with new ones here. But the interconnection works very well. As you just saw, it upgraded from an advanced approach to a clear. The only thing I do not have is exit and entrance to signals. Detectors for the signals at the end of each block. I tried that once with the AC side of it there and smoked block detectors. I have not tried it since I converted everything back to what it should be as DC. I've been told by Iowa Scaled Engineering it should work. I sent them an email about it, and they said it should work. The guy that emailed me said he tried it at home, and it did go okay. So I don't know. One of these days I'm going to try it. I just Haven't got around to it yet. One of the aftermarket signals I have, well, two of them, the one on the right is a Tomar signal. I'm very pleased with the Tomar signals. Those are the ones you have to pull the jumper out and cover up the top two pins. Same thing with the dwarf signal on the left. That came from Midwest Model Supply. That was a little kit there that came with a very small LED. The searchlight on the left was my attempt at my age to build one, being I couldn't find any searchlight signals in N scale. Didn't go very well considering I'm getting older, harder to see, and the parts are so small. But that's what I had to work with. The signal on the right is a Tomar signal I bought off an eBay page. That one worked very well. As you can see in a second here, I've got a black detector in the bush. That one just dropped to restricting. Clears the black detector. Goes up to an approach, should go up to a clear. There it goes. These I do not have black detectors for yet, so they're always going to stay clear, assuming I have the signal at my control point lined up. I've got my system set up so as close to CTC as I could get. I've got the control points wired into the detector output on my selectors here. So I can drop the lights on the control point, simulating a stop signal, and the signals will all progress. You'll have an approach at that signal, an advance approach at that one. That's all done through those signal interconnect cables that run between the boards. Right now I've got that one lit up there, so it's not going to show anything other than the clear because I don't have any detector any place on this outer loop here. The Tomar ones took a while to wire up. There's another Tomar signal, but it was worth it. I like the way they look. They work very well. I had to sort out on this particular one all the red, yellow, green aspects. Common wasn't too hard to find. And then make sure I had a control board out. I had a do-it-yourself set of signal, I guess you call them, they run to the attachment cables there. You have to solder the wires from that signal to this little connector, and then that connects to your signal attachment cable, which connects to the control board. This is one of those DIY sets right there. This is only for non-Atlas style signals. I actually saved myself a lot of money because I'd found that this Atlas signal attachment cables have this extra wire on it for, I forget which style signals they said they are. The connection is the same though. The only difference here, this connector can plug into the signal attachment cable or signal here, no problem. It's just you have to line up the connector to get your red, yellow, green, and black lined up, which takes about 5 seconds. But I've saved a lot of money from having to buy a lot of DIY kits by just clipping right about here, clipping it off, stripping the wire, soldering it on there. It worked fairly well. Most of these DIY signals you see, I've done that on. So there's another view of the mess underneath the layout. I said I'm still working, and I'm still a work in progress building it, but the green light circuit board right there, that's an interlock control module. That's basically that three-headed signal. I've got the middle aspect set up to it, so if I cross over to the main line, if my signal next to it is anything better than a clear, it will act on signal indication with that signal there. So if I've got something to block, I'll get either, I usually operate by NORAC rules, so it's a medium approach signal out of the yard, and once that clears up, it'll go medium clear. This is one of the signal internet cables that I still haven't used yet. This one's a medium one. I found out when I bought the short ones, a short internet cable will basically run from one side of the layout to the other, so they're actually pretty long. I bought 2 long ones, hence a lot of this stuff wired up under there with zip ties. There was a lot of extra room. But on the circuit board, there's a J1 output. You hook that up to, that goes to your next signal. J2 comes in for your previous signal. If you mess up, like I've done that more than once, putting the signals in where I have them reversed, all it does is unplug them and plug them in the opposite side there. I can't remember if I showed this or not. So yeah, here is, you can see the clear signal in the distance up by the bridge. On the right, I've got a block detector around the corner. So the optical block detector drops that to a restricting, this one to an approach. I said if I had an exit detector, it would work better, but yeah, deal with what I got. That upgraded to an approach, that's an advanced. And it should upgrade to clear, there we go. It cleared the second block detector. So the signals progress actually fairly well. I don't have one for, let's see, that's the one on the right's for the one he just went by. Said nothing for that one there, so that one won't drop at all unless I drop the selector input. All right, so example of selector input. Drop that. And it dropped my light. The only other problem I've had with these Atlas ones is sometimes they're not aimed right. The signal heads aren't exactly level. Some of them are pointing towards the ground, some of them are pointed way up. It said don't attempt to bend them. I've tried that and ended up breaking a signal and having to buy another one. So I ended up having to scavenge that first one for parts. For those Iowa scale block detectors, for the same thing, for those that have DC, the optical ones, I chose the right angle ones. They have ones that you can actually remove ties, drill it in and put it in the center of the gauge there, but I figured honestly, I'd probably end up breaking more than actually improving it. So the right angle ones seem to work pretty good. They are kind of difficult to get aimed, but once you get them aimed right, they work very well. There's one of the Iowa scaled ones hanging down. I used a hot glue gun, obviously, to put this thing up. They make attachments for it, but the hot glue gun, once you get it positioned right and hold in there, the hot glue does pretty good. I mean, it doesn't conduct electricity, so I've never had any issues with anything shorting out. I said, and that was the blue wire is not the one I ended up using, it's the white wire. That's what shorts the detector input to ground. So instead of me doing it by selector, it does it by this. And supposedly, it does it with crossings too. I have yet to do either one of these crossings here. This one, I've got just wired up to the selector right now. I can drop it to get it to work. I don't have that one active yet. I'm still getting the one on the far side of the layout wired up. The only one Tomar signal I ever had problems with is the one you see next to the tower on the right side there. It was one I did not buy from them. I got it from eBay. Whether I messed up on it or more than likely it probably was used already, it did not work. I could not get any of the aspects to light up on it. So I sacrificed it, attempted to weather it, and made it a signal at the end of my abandoned railroad here next to the tower. The one in the background there with the clear, that's one of the ones I was telling you about I had the issues with, where I've had to adjust the cable a little bit for it. And I don't know if the video does it justice, but the Atlas signal you see in the left-hand head, if you can see it, it is pointed down towards the ground. So I learned my lesson after the first one, did not adjust it. But I've had a few of those show up like that, and it was just, I've learned to live with it, I guess. One of the other things I found I could do with the signals was I combined two detector inputs on two different signals. You'll see the bottom head on that signal flashing yellow. I've got it set for the siding, the signal on the quarters in advanced, and the one on the right you see in the distance is set to a stop. So here, these two are stop. If I drop this one here, it should go green on the bottom here. It goes through a cycle, it'll go yellow, then go up to green. And then by dropping the detector input on the top light here, I got the approach on it so I can get myself an approach medium signal here for that one being red over green, being a medium clear. Well, be a NORAC or a G-core one there, diverging advance approach on that one, but either way, if I had it lined up, you'd have a medium clear there. But I was able to combine two detector inputs from one board, so when I drop a light, this one will automatic come up acting like a distant signal, giving an approach medium instead of a clear. And once I got it involved, it took some time playing with it, but it was worth it. And I said it was nice experimenting to see what this could and could not do. It was bad when I ended up costing me money on it, but overall, it was well worth it. I said for a 100% rank amateur model railroader. I'm very pleased with this signal system. On a side note, lots of power that here I've worked on. I've been in train service since July of 1999. Running in Northern U23B, that was the first railroad I worked for. I worked for the NYSW for almost 8 years. I worked for CP's D&H property out of Binghamton, New York. And now I'm an engineer since actually 15 years ago out here for CPKC out of Portage, Wisconsin. So I've tried to collect either power where I grew up along Belden Hill I saw in the D&H back in the day, or as in the Susquehanna, I'm trying to get almost every model I ever ran when I was on that railroad of the Susquehanna power itself. The only thing I'm missing is a C430. I haven't found an N scale. I found a dummy GP20, and after running those things, that's where that thing belongs. Those things were awful. But everything else here, freight car wise, I've tried to get from, NYSW, stuff I would have hauled back in the day, the stacks, stuff I saw in the day, the NYSW stacks. So, and the Lackawanna switch towers, I've loved exploring those things. So it was kind of nice being able to incorporate stuff I've either ran or saw over most of my life and put it in this neat little layout. Eventually I said, I'm going to expand it. This was just an Atlas N-scale track plan that I heavily modified. The outer loop wasn't there, the yard wasn't here, they had more switches than I wanted in it that didn't, to me, do anything. So I modified that heavily, and I also, being a huge fan of abandoned railroads, and thanks to the many people that showed how to make scenery on YouTube, carved myself out an abandoned railroad too, going into a tunnel that was on the other side here. But yeah, it's overall, it's been fun. It's kept me busy. The wife's helped me out. She likes it. She liked designing a farm and, picking and choosing where I was going to put where. So she's actually got into it too. My 2 kids both like it too. So the only thing in hindsight I would have done different being a DC layout, with the exception of the control points, I didn't do much planning. I would have set up my intermediate signals along where my insulated joints were. This was an afterthought majorly on my part, and I would definitely do that different. And I would buy the crap out of any Tomar aftermarket signals here, because while the Atlases are good, I do like the looks of these a lot better. So this is the other reason that I built the layout too. Say hi, Erwin.
Hi.
The girls like watching the trains go around. And someday when they're older, they're looking forward to be able to operate them too. So in closing, I would definitely recommend the Atlas signal system. I would definitely buy aftermarket signals, a bunch of them. Overall, it's pretty good. And thanks for me putting up with me droning on and watching. Arwen, say thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Say it, Ewan.
Say-
No.